Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. And I'm super excited about the Pirate today in the Pirate Broadcast because we have Ryan in the room, and Ryan is a pirate number one. He actually owns a sailing yacht. So, Ryan, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. This is bingo right here. This is my pirate ship. This is if I'm not speaking, this is where I want to be sailing right here, Catalina Island.
Well, this year you can go speaking out on the deck and access people and make sure that people have access to you as well. You know, it's
absolutely.
Like,
you know what's funny is that I always try to find things that I enjoy and overlap them. And so there have been many podcasts which I've been asked to be on. And a typical question and response is, do you mind if I am on a boat during this podcast? And they're like, what? And so I created what I call the Boatcast. And I basically hook up my phone to a streaming, take the boat out for a little harbor cruise. And I've done quite a few podcasts in a Boatcast format. So yes, taking full advantage.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's kind of the theme of what I want to talk about today with you, because you wrote a book, you know, Stop the Act.
Ditch the Act.
Ditch the Act.
Yeah.
So Ditch the Act. And I love this because we connected actually on Twitter. And I like the idea of this philosophy that you have. Just be yourself. You know, if you're on a boat and that's what you love to do, work it into your life. You know, minimize the things that are going to be noisy and cause a lot of grief and concern, and allow yourself just to be who you are and what you're doing. And so talk about how you got there and what was the journey for you, Ryan, in terms of discovery and minimizing and maximizing your pleasure.
Well, sometimes we find the destination by going in the wrong direction. And that's exactly what I did. I knew where I wanted to go, right? I wanted to become a professional speaker, and I still work in higher education. And fortunately, I was transparent with them in my professional goals, and so they supported that. So as I was working in higher education, I was also trying to get more speaking opportunities. Yeah. So I did everything that you think you should do, which is, you know, find platforms, post on social media, you know, make sure that you're writing and all these different things. Well, nobody seemed to care about my tweets. Nobody seemed to read any of my blogs. I wrote 50 over one summer. Actually, it was super intense. I'm like, the more, the better, right? And the reality is that I tried to present myself as something that I wasn't. I faked it, thinking I would make it.
Oh.
And it really didn't work. However much you think that it's going to work, it does not work. And so serendipitously, I met somebody at a party that I accidentally got a ticket to. And it was with Keith Ferrazzi, who's an epic, one of the most famous sort of networking marketers, not like MLM, but actually the person who would bring people over to his house for wine parties. He's got two epic books, Never Eat Alone and Who's Got Your Back. And his new book is Eating Without Authority. So I had this chance, and I was like surrounded by all these successful entrepreneurs, felt like an imposter there, but had my bow tie on and was there to sort of like show up. And he brought us all into one of his rooms of this house in the Hollywood Hills. It was amazing. There was also somebody dressed in a cloud suit playing the oboe. So it was like very Hollywood. And he tells everybody, he says, okay, everybody, it was probably 50, 60 people, and said, everybody put your phones away. I want to talk to you real quick. So everybody puts their phones away. And then he proceeded to share some things that keeps him up at night, some things that he's dealing with personally. And this is a guy that I had read his books. I had him on this platter, this pedestal. And here he was just being super real and like deep with us. And you could just feel the room be like, is he really? Wow. And he's like, this isn't going to be your normal party. This is a party where you're going to, like, you're obviously all here and you're ready to show your A game. But when you get separated into dinner tables and each plate had a different number, and it was very kind of like randomized, and each table had a facilitator, you had to go around the room and explain what was not going right. This is crazy. This really came out of
vulnerability at its max.
So I was like, honestly, I want to be a speaker, but nobody takes me seriously. And I don't understand social media. I had like 200 collective followers at that point across all platforms. Everybody goes around the room, and this other gentleman goes, well, I've got 10 million reads. My social media is blowing up, but I can't really connect with people in person. And I just broke up with my girlfriend. So afterwards, I went up to him. I'm like, hey, I can help you if you can help me, in all transparency. You help me how to write and build my platform and gain traction on social media. And I'll help you, with these personal interactions and become a speaker and get you a girl. And at that moment, that's where I met who was my co-author. And come full circle, he was really good at helping me with things, and I was good at helping him with things. But the changing point where the wind changed in my direction was just adjusting my sails and being like, yeah, my boat's a mess. It's a little bit dirty, but I'm passionate about going in this direction. Yeah. And so ditching the act is not only being authentic and being vulnerable, but just being like real and flubbing along the way. And I like to tell people that it's not, people don't hire you for your expertise. They hire you for your experience. So here I was hiding all of the shitty things that happened in my past. I mean, I've had a lot of ups and a lot of downs, including things that you would Google and find me and be scared of. Mm-hmm. But when you drag those skeleton bones, when you drag the bones out in front and you're like, this is it, and let me explain, and here's how I've grown, then all of a sudden people are like, cool. I don't judge you. I don't look at you differently. And so that was really what the genesis was of this book. And in all transparency, my partnership with with the co-author, it didn't work out. But that's okay because it's the reality. And so people change, and he's doing great things and I'm doing great things. But it's like the fact that I was able to research and understand the power of the book is the same thing that is helping me work through a partnership that didn't work. And we all have partnerships that don't work. We all have friendships that come and go. So that's
sometimes though, Ryan, and I just want to point this out to everyone, is there are times where the worst experience is the best catalyst for change.
I would say most of the time.
Almost all the time. It's almost exclusive. However, those moments do pass, and a relationship, a business, contract, or whatever it happens to be, that moment in time, it evolves and it changes, and you lose people in your life, you gain people in your life, you have experiences that add to the fabric of who you become, and that's really what it's about. And if you're not being open and honest with yourself, who can you be honest with?
Absolutely. I have found in my own life, and I can only share my experience, but people didn't care about my story of success. They still don't, right? If you're out there going like, hey, this is amazing, this happened to me, people are like, eh. But it's when people see themselves in your story, when they've gone through a situation that's similar, when they've had a struggle that's similar, that's when they connect with you. So building a powerful brand is more about convincing people that you're a lot more like them than you'd think. And that really, I don't want to say lowers the par, but just removes the bar. And now you're able to be yourself. And when you're yourself, life just feels better. I think we put on these facades. We're one way with one person and we're one way with another group, especially at work. I have a full-time job and my professional speaking career is off. It's running. It's cut off at the knees, but I'm still hobbling along. Yeah. And so transparency, candor, vulnerability, like for me, those are the secrets behind the gusts that have kept me going.
Well, and I think that a lot of individuals need to understand that we're all standing in line, this thing called life. We're all standing in line, and some people are ahead of us and some people are behind us. That's going to always be the case. And if you can help the people behind you get to where you are, you don't need to be all the way at the front of the line before you can help someone else in line. It's really an opportunity that you can share your information, what you've learned in the last year will help a lot of people in your, like in your career. There's a lot of speakers that are struggling. You could actually talk about the challenges you've had in the last year and help a lot of people,
Right. When initially you might think people will judge you on what's not going right. And I'd love your opinion on this. I think social media pre-2020 very much supported the shiny things. Like be an influencer, everything's got to be great, bigger, better, more followers. And I think 2020 actually slapped us all in the face. And I feel like people came to social media to commiserate and take all the hate and craziness out of it, right? Like I see that as a separate anomaly. But I think people have really used social to come together. And that's where when people talk with me about what content do I create, I don't know what to tweet. I don't know. It's like, what would you share with your friends? What are you sharing in conversations? Like, so I'm curious the difference between what social was as far as supporting shiny objects only. And I do think 2020 was something that has changed fundamentally and opened up the opportunity for people to just be more themselves instead of trying to pretend that they're somebody else. I don't know.
Well, and it's interesting. And I was talking to somebody the other day that we were talking about how actually business for myself, I've been a remote worker for over a decade, and there's a lot of good things that have evolved for me in business this year. It's not necessarily everything has been great. However, my business has grown, my opportunities have grown and expanded. And I think it's because of just being out there and being open and honest, and people slowing down long enough to pay attention to what's really going on and what's really important. And I think a lot of relationships are built on just be real. Just let me know what you're doing. Let me know you're okay.
I like what you said about paying attention. And I think that inherently in that phrase, there's an exchange. You're actually paying with your attention while you're paying attention. And since all of our lives have been impacted, I think we all have a bit more empathy with others. And so that I think gives us a chance to pay more attention. Because when somebody's just rattling off a bunch of what they think you want to hear, it doesn't necessarily resonate.
Well, we jumped on that topic before we were broadcasting, and the idea that you don't need to explain every detail of what you do. You need to make sure that you understand, am I the right person to help you? Are we even in the ballpark? What is it that really is bothering you? What is keeping you up at night right now? What's the thing that can keep you and change you and make a difference in your life right now?
Yeah. And whether you ask that or whether you know how to answer that, those are two key components.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Hey, Ryan, I want to jump in. There's quite a few people in the chat session here that we're coming back and forth. Lori J. Scott, good morning.
Good morning.
Michael Baker in from Florida, and Silver Darlene in from Florida. Thank you so much. Morning, Pirate Community. Howard Kaufman right here from sunny AZ is a great point on the power and impact of effective, genuine storytelling, which I want to get back to in a minute, Ryan. But and then experience, strength, and hope is another comment from Michael. And then we got the infamous Pirate Jeff Young. Gotta agree. For me, brand means be real and never doubt. Namaste.
I love that. That's great. Good
I like
job,
that.
Jeff.
I love that a lot.
You're welcome on this pirate ship.
Yeah. Jeff's been on here and he inspired me to a couple of posts this week. So authenticity, transparency, admirability. So Jenny Gold says, good morning, Russ and Ryan.
Ahoy, Jenny.
Ahoy. So
I officially replaced hello with ahoy. And it's changed my world. I answer the phone, I'm like, ahoy. And they're like, wait, what?
Is this Ryan?
Yeah, you learn pretty quick.
Welcome to being Pirate Ryan Foland. So
yeah, it's Captain Ryan Jeff. And as I was sharing with Russ, a good life motto to live by is to work like a pirate. I'm sorry, work like a captain, play like a pirate, right? Because I love it. Captains hold a lot of responsibility, but at the same time, it's okay to let loose and just enjoy life a little bit.
We have an obligation, I think, right now more than any other time in history, because technology allows everyone to be the media. And it's really important for us to actually share some of these stories, from where we are, what's going on, because that really makes an impact in our lives. And also, I think right now, mental health issues are at a peak. A lot of people feel isolated. They feel out of touch. They feel vulnerable in not necessarily the most positive way. Some people have lost their jobs. They're working to survive. And if people can share some of their other stories and relate and feel like they can have a conversation with somebody, that's going to make a difference in somebody's life. And I just believe that to my core.
One way that I encourage people to practice ditching the act is what I call going first. Now, when you join a Zoom or you connect with somebody before you go live, there's this opportunity to sort of connect. And the typical questions are, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? And we think, well, I have what's really going on, which is kind of heavy, or all this stuff that's like crappy. Or I could just say, I'm doing fine, Russ. How are you? Go 2020. Yay. And so there's that one single opportunity. Whoever goes first will sort of lead the tone. And so if you ask me, how's it going? I'm like, oh, it's going great. It's great, great, great. And you'd be like, oh, it's going great. Good, good. All right, let's go into the show.
Yeah.
But you asked me and I told you something that was sort of devastating that happened over the last few weeks. And then you shared something with me that was also devastating. And so just because I went first, it gives the other person permission to go second, when secretly that's how we connect. Yeah. So when somebody asks you, how are you doing? Just try to be honest. Yeah. It's not a pity party, but it's like, I had weird bad dreams last night. Like that could start a conversation. Somebody else will go, oh, I did too. And that's where you can bond. So as soon as you go first, being authentic or being a bit vulnerable, it gives the other person permission to meet you where you're at. So that's a really good way to the small talk is a great way to be honest. Otherwise, you sort of skip over it.
Well, and stay relatable.
Yes.
Don't put this Instagram face up on and saying, hey, my life is beautiful. Look at the unicorns and the rainbows in the back here. It's all beautiful. It's not all beautiful. And there are days where we have to admit to ourselves as much as anyone else that, hey, this is not the best day of my life. And I know that it's temporary.
Yeah. And that gives people the chance to actually help you and support you and share a relatable story or be there for you. A second way you can really practice this idea of authenticity, because it sounds weird, like this guy's talking to us about being authentic, which doesn't seem authentic. Okay. Yeah. But take in a situation where you're in an interview, because there's a lot of people that are looking for jobs or in transitions. And there's I hear a lot of chatter about like interviews. It's very important. Mm-hmm. We tend to think that we should answer questions with our resume. How is your leadership? Well, let me tell you about this and here, and I'm going to give you all the stats and year over year, this and everything, right? I believe the better way to connect and be more relatable in an interview or even with people, answer with a story of something that did not go right, and then share how that has changed your perspective or changed your view. So you asked me about my leadership. I'll be like, well, let me actually tell you a story when I realized I wasn't the best leader. It was this one time, here it was, kind of a fun, entertaining story. But because of that, I actually now look at things in this way. And that's why I have this experience. Yeah. So in the book, we talk about an exposure resume, which is everything that you have omitted from your resume. It's all the things that have gone wrong. And when you take those and you think of the lessons and how it relates to who you are, you have what we call this exposure bank, like literally a bank account of stories that you haven't shared that you can pull out and help reinforce who you are in a way that showcases your experience authentically, because they're your stories. Yeah. Nobody else has your stories, but everybody else sounds like they're doing the year over year growth and all these other key buzzy Buzzenstein words.
Oh, I've been on the roller coaster my entire life, and it's not necessarily, it's like I've had ups and I've had downs. And
The open seas. I've been in some seas that
yeah,
definitely make me as a captain queasy, but you gotta push on.
yeah, you got to push on, and it's not like you can get off the ship in the middle of the storm, right? It's like,
No.
I'm sorry, you might get tossed off the ship, but you're not going to get off the ship. So I know that this is a huge topic, and I understand that 2021 is going to continue to be a little bit rocky for a lot of people. So what are some other tips or some strategies that you have from your book and from your studies and your research that people can at least start to feel comfortable about being open and authentic?
Yeah, so I would say that actually going through the first process of this exposure resume, right? It's outlined in the book, but you can imagine how it feels. All the things that have gone wrong, start to track those, start to remember those, and then identify the learning lessons that you've had from it, and then consider including that in your content. So whether it's a video, whether it's a blog, whether it's a podcast, these are all opportunities to share these little sort of real moments in your life. We also talk about how you can't just what I'm not saying is don't come out and just emotionally vomit on everyone and expect them to be like, oh, I love you now.
Right.
Relatability, it comes with trust. And so we talk about 5 levels of exposure. So there's a little tiny stupid stuff. For example, when I picked up my picture of my sailboat right here, bingo, and I dropped it on my foot. And my foot's been aching this whole time. For the first 5 minutes, I was like, oh, my foot. Now that's stupid, but that happened in real time. That would be like a level 1. And so look for these really small opportunities, like spilling your coffee, losing things. Start small.
Yeah.
Then you can start to build, trust with your community as you do that. And when it comes to content creation, creating content is not hard. It takes time. So we mistake it for being difficult. I encourage people to focus on creating content that they, wait for it, actually enjoy creating. Okay? That's where you should start. If you like to speak, try to get on podcasts. If you like to write. But I find that people try to create content for content's sake. But the reality is that if you start with the type of content that you enjoy, you can cross-pollinate and syndicate it across. And for those people who want to create content and they do the stuff that they enjoy, but they still are fearful of sharing it, create it and don't share it. Right? I have so many people that want to make videos, but they're too afraid to publish them, so they never make the videos. But the best way to get better at making videos is making videos. The best way to be a writer is to write more.
Yeah. Well, and the analogy I always use, Ryan, is great pianists or great musicians didn't start by playing the great songs they're playing today the first time they played it.
No. And they probably did it in their basement for years and nobody ever heard them.
Yeah. So getting started is really key, and also allowing yourself to believe that people are going to judge you regardless of what you say or do. That's just the way life is, and it may be a positive thing. It can be a positive thing. People are going to say, hey, Ryan's cool. He's got a ship. He's got a boat. He dropped it on his foot. It's like
this is the first time my
regular guy just like
ever
me
landed on my foot, by the way. First time.
But that's relatable. Yes, that's something that's relatable. Right. It's like, go out messy, practice until you're comfortable doing it. Even if it's not perfect in your own mind's eye, it will be more than adequate. It'll be the message that resonates with a lot of people long before you feel comfortable. I mean, I've been doing hundreds of episodes I've got over 700 videos on YouTube. And the fact remains is there's some days that it's like I still enjoy it. I still love having conversations just like this because I know two things. It helps me, and if it helps me, it helps someone else.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, so two things to touch on real quick. You said everybody's judging us.
Mhm.
And that's true. We're always judging. So I talk about pieces of content as what I call brand crumbs, just like breadcrumbs, but they're
Mhm.
brand crumbs. And so people are going to judge you no matter what. But if you don't give them brand crumbs to help them judge you in the way that you want to be judged or seen, then you're not taking any participation in your narrative. And so think
Yeah.
of the little pieces of content as, hey, I know you're going to judge me, but check this out. This is what I'm all about. So if you think of it like that, like judge me, Google me, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you participate in that content, it gives them a chance to.
Well,
to
it's just
know
like
you.
your story of, oh man, I really failed at this. And the lesson I learned led me to the outcome of being better.
Right.
Right.
And there's value in that story.
There's
And
huge
so
value in
now
that
if somebody
story.
knows that you failed, it's tied to who you are today. And I feel like, especially in the startup world, when you fail, you try to cover it up and you try to hide it. You're the guy that is in this and then the other. At least it wasn't the anchor.
Yeah, at least it wasn't an anchor.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of which, I just took 180 feet of 5/16 chain to get galvanized. And things are so heavy sometimes. Like when you're pulling 180 feet of chain, I had to detach the anchor. So thank you for yeah.
We got so many great comments here. I just wanted to fall out. Welcome to being a pirate, Ryan.
Thank you, Jeff. It's good to be here. I've always been a pirate, but it's good to be official pirate, I guess.
Open, honest conversation, mutual understanding of, loving this conversation. The changes are huge, lots of opportunities. Be flexible, heart-driven. And yes, be present in the moment and open to opportunities. Like, good morning, pirates. Tracy, she's the producer of the show. So thank you so much for being here.
Is that a pyroducer? A pyroducer, maybe?
Yeah, pyroducer. Want to be a pirate for sure. These are all, and thank you so much, everyone, for being here and being in the comments today. And Ryan, I don't want to close up, or I don't want to run away today without asking about future projects and things that you have that might be on the horizon, and targeting for your next adventure on the high seas.
So from a sailing perspective, I'm still working on putting my engine together. I'm getting my prop retuned, and I have a rigging project that's on the sailing side. On the business side, I've decided on my next book. My publisher is interested, and it is called Ditch the Pitch. Yeah. Ditch the Act is all about getting rid of the stuff that's not yourself so you can really shine. And Ditch the Pitch is about stop pitching people and just have a conversation with them. Because the more you talk, the less people listen. And the less you talk, the more people ask questions. And a good pitch is a conversation. So I've got this 313 method. I've got a podcast called the 313 Challenge. So much traction around helping people say less so that the person or people they're talking with can engage more. So I'm excited about Ditch the Pitch as a sequel to Ditch the Act.
I love that. And so many people right now need and understand that, business is going to continue to evolve and change in 2021. This thing is not like a light switch where everything changes and goes back to a certain state once it's been, it's just not that way. And so as we learn and gain experience in these adventures, working together, being open, having conversations, making connections are so important. So Ryan, how do you like people to reach out and connect with you? What's a good method?
So my website's a good place to start, which is ryan.online. And my favorite platform to be on is Twitter. That's where we met. And that's just at Ryan Foland. So if you want to check out the book, it's ditchtheact.com. I've got a podcast for core messaging, a podcast for professional speakers. But I'm not going to confuse you with that. I'll point you to one spot. The compass course heading to find more about me is ryan.online. That's all you need to know if you're interested.
Just go to ryan.online. And just for everyone, just to recap, this podcast, this promotion, this post, all of this information will be landing on russjohns.com, and all of the hundreds of other interviews that are here are all on Russ Johns. And I would love the opportunity to have you help me grow my YouTube channel as well. So I'm growing YouTube this year, and I'm going to be adding some more courses and some training videos over there as well. So,
Russ, I am curious about YouTube as well, and you now have a new subscriber. I will subscribe and I will check it out. I will jump on the boat and see what's happening.
Yeah, check it out. And I just love the fact that we had this conversation. We were able to connect. We have an opportunity right now in this world to make it a lot smaller and a lot more accessible to everyone. So please reach out, make those connections. Tell them you're a pirate and you want to make the connection. And so Ryan,
and I just on that real quick. I mean, I saw that you had a pirate podcast. I was like, this looks cool. And I just reached out to you. So there's not a lot of mystery behind how to get on podcasts. Sometimes it's just like actually asking. So if you're here and you're a pirate and you want to find your way onto another podcast ship or this ship, just reach out, right? What's the worst that they're going to say?
Yeah. It's like the worst answer in the world is no, which actually means not yet. Not yet.
It's good because then you can move on to the next, right?
It's like you don't have to think about it. It's like, okay. Well, it's awesome to meet and greet and have a great conversation, Ryan. Thank you so much for sharing with the pirate community. And I look forward to many more adventures in the future. And as always, you're welcome back anytime.
Oh, that would be fun. I'd love to come back. So before we go, I want to ask you a serious question about pirates, and I want to test your pirate knowledge.
Yeah.
What is a pirate's favorite letter?
R.
No, it's not. They always choose the C.
They always choose the C.
Yes.
I love the ATM Mini.
All right.
Thank you so much, Ryan. It's been a pleasure. It's been an awesome day. And have a wonderful Wednesday, a fantastic Friday, and an amazing weekend. Pitch the act, everyone. Pitch the act. Go buy it today.
And then look for Ditch the Pitch. Coming soon.
All right. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for being here, because kindness is cool and smiles are free. And I want you to enjoy the day. Don't go away. Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about, join the Pirate Syndicate today.